DeLuna Coffee has been fueling Florida and beyond since 2014, and now wake up Warchant. DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son Brett. When not roasting the perfect coffee blends, these FSU diehards can be found tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Go and set your sights on their Lighthouse blend. Made of 5 different coffee origins, a combination of light and medium roasted beans creates this wonderful cup of premium coffee. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Warchant15, the promo code over there. If you want to join the tribe, Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. That promo code's FSU Spring 2021. If you're a first-time subscriber, you'll get a 50% discount off an annual membership and a $25 e-card to Garnet and Gold. So that's about a $75 value. Again, FSU Spring 2021. If you have a Yahoo account, go to the fantasy sports page, fill out a bracket, look for the warchant.com page, league, whatever it's called, our pool, I guess, Corey. If you win that one, you'll get a $50 e-card to Garnet and Gold. Second place gets a $25 e-card. I filled out my bracket. I think I got it finally. I think I got it down pat. I think I'm going to go perfect this year, Corey. Have you got your bracket filled out?
No, I don't do those. Do you have the Noles winning at all?
I don't want to talk about it. Everyone's going to get mad at me. No, I watched Ham's interview on Monday night, and I just loved it. I've got him going to the final. Actually, no, I got him going to the Elite Eight. So
that's fair. I think I would probably, again, I don't think anybody can get mad at us. It's not like this team has been a bastion of consistency over the last month or so. So I think people could understand if we thought maybe their run would end after a win or 2 or 3. You know what I mean? So no real. I don't think no real animosity there. If I was filling out one, I think I'd probably get them into the Sweet 16, and then after that, I'd probably just flip a coin.
Yeah, I need some kind of chaos. I got too much chalk going on, but I got Florida State in the East. Obviously, they're in the East. I've gotten taken down UNC Greensboro in first round, which. Your significant other, your better half, was asking Ira and I during tennis on Tuesday. So are they going to win at least on Saturday? Because I guess she's going to come in. I don't know, I'm spoiling the surprise. I think she's going to come to Indianapolis with you. And she just didn't want to drive all the way up there and then have to turn around the next day. But I'm like, they'll win that one. I think they'll win the second round against Colorado or Georgetown, which is probably going to be Colorado. But it's just – and then it's Michigan. So if they play Michigan, if Michigan doesn't have livers – and I don't think Michigan's as battle-tested on their staff. Livers was there when they beat Florida State a few years back. But someone's got to go down. One of these 1 seeds has to go down. I don't think it's going to be Illinois, Baylor, or Gonzaga. So it's Michigan's turn. So then you're in the Elite Eight.
Okay, I would say that Michigan did play a much tougher schedule than Florida State. So they are battle-tested. But, yeah, I get what you're saying. Not many of those guys have had a bunch of success in the tournament.
Yes.
Like Livers was there, but yeah, from their Final Four run a few years ago. But like the big freshman and the kid that transferred from the Ivy League, they're not. They haven't been. They weren't big time players on that team. So yeah, man, it's the tournament. Who knows? Literally, who knows? That's why I don't do the pools. I've said this before, but like when you fill out a bracket, especially when there's a good bit of money on the line, you're rooting against the upset. So like there were people that were really upset about Florida Gulf Coast a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on, infield, really? I had Georgetown going to wherever. Or I had San Diego State making the Final Four. So they're pulling against, like, the Cinderella. And I don't want to do that. I like to enjoy the upset. So that's why I don't do it.
Well, just pick the upsets then in your bracket. I can't believe, like, one of my other friends, like, I'm not really into brackets anymore. And he's the one that won the big significant payout on the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl preseason bet. The bracket's all about the brackets, man. I love the bracket. I missed it last year.
I think my son certainly does. He was Sunday night. That's all he talked about for 5 hours straight. Like he kept coming back to the Clemson-Rutgers game. Yeah,
he's like, how's Clemson been playing? Did you tell him to take Rutgers? Be a good dad. Tell him to take Rutgers.
I know I should have. I guess I told him to flip a coin. I was like, man, and I don't even know how it ended up. I'm like, man, that's the thing about 10-7s, Brady. There are no real favorites. Like you could pick the 7, but they're not. They're probably, if Clemson's the 7, they're probably a 3-point favorite or a 2.5-point favorite. Like there's no real difference between a 7 and a 10 or an 8 and a 9. So, as long as your Final Four teams don't get bounced early, you'll do well.
Okay. All right. Well, I won't go through my bracket then, since you don't want.
Oh, good. Thank you. Nobody wants to hear that. It's like hearing about somebody's dream or somebody's bad poker beat. It's like, yeah, man, we all got them. I had a dream last night. Nobody needs to hear about it.
Yeah, in television, when you were, up against the legacy station, like a station that was so entrenched, their anchors had been there for 20, 25 years, and they were number one for however long. Like, it was always like, it doesn't matter what we do over here. It's like the line was they could read the phone book on air, and they'll still get better ratings than us. So I feel like doing your brackets like reading the phone book to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start off in the Midwest. 6-11, San Diego State, Syracuse.
Exactly, man. Nobody. Who could possibly care who I have winning some 8-9 game in the West region?
Well, this week we're being bankrolled. For the next 3 weeks, we're being bankrolled by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. So I did say the other day that I was going to give a parlay to the people. So I will cook one up, and then we'll drop it here during the ad that runs. So I'm going to give you something upset-minded, everybody, so you got some good payouts on it. But nonetheless, as we record this, Florida State is playing Florida in intercollegiate baseball and having their way with them, which is kind of cool. It's currently 7-0, like in the second inning right now. So they're still going. They're still up at bat, the Noles. How about that? Meat comes to town. Start taking the boomstick to these guys. I like it. A lot of baseball left, but still,
Yeah, I was going to say there's still 21 outs to go get against the a really good team. But yeah, so far, no matter what, the offense seems to have at least found itself a little bit.
Like Wyatt Crowell, the pitcher, just doubled off the fence in right field.
And Messick just had an RBI single.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so that again, that's the thing though. Not that maybe people want to get too deep into this when we have football to discuss, but like baseball, I think might start turning back into that, where these kids they just not a lot of pitch. There are guys that are going to be pitcher only, obviously, but some of these kids were really good hitters in high school, and why make them choose? They might really be able to help you, like Tyler Holton,
like
a few years ago. Yeah, sure. What's his? Oh, I can't remember the other guy that was Cal State Fullerton guy. Kotze played for the Braves. Like those guys can do both, and there's plenty of people that are elite pitchers, but that can also be very good hitters for you. So it's cool that they're doing that. It's cool that they're giving them a chance to hit, and they're so far they're doing a good job with them.
Well,
they're doing a good job with their opportunities. These pitchers.
Yeah. Was it Meats' last game in Gainesville where they were up 6 or 7-0, like in the fourth, and then just catastrophe struck? I remember.
Well, that was 11's last game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they lost like 19-10 or something.
That was bad. Yeah.
So I was gonna say 7-0 is.
Don't want to jinx it.
It's not quite over.
Yeah. Carson Montgomery looks pretty solid early on. But, yeah, we might if Florida State holds on for the victory, we likely will tack something onto the end of the program that wraps that up a little bit. So we'll do that. You want to keep it on? You want to go right to football, or you want to keep talk a little bit basketball? You want to talk about your plans for Indianapolis, what you're packing, how excited you are that Leonard Hamilton's normalizing casual wear for sporting events, or you want to go to the serious stuff?
It's up to you, buddy. You're driving. I'm just along for the ride, so I can talk about whatever.
All right.
By the way, we do mean to mention that the women found out where they're playing too. Well, they knew where they were playing. It's San Antonio, right? Like that's where their bubble is. But they're in the 8-9 game, and oh boy, I just forgot who they're playing.
Well, I like how the men are still calling it the East region, Midwest region, but I think the ladies are calling it like the Alamo region, and like they're all these like they're like San Antonio themed. I think
What else is there? It's the Alamo. It's the Tim Duncan region.
Maybe the Popovich bracket or whatever. Oregon State they're playing Sunday 7:30 p.m.
Okay, there you go. All right, so you're going to be able to watch both. You'll watch the Noles, the men's team at Saturday around noonish, and then the women Sunday night right after dinner.
Yeah, it's weird. It's Saturday noon. I was hoping for like a Friday evening game, but whatever. We'll take it. Are they doing Friday, Sunday, Saturday, Monday splits because of COVID, because of the window of of negative tests that you need, or what? I've not gotten it. I really haven't done a lot of research on it, and I don't know if you have either. But I don't. Why did we go away from Thursday? Thursday was magic. It was because you had the playing games like Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's like you got the bracket on Sunday. There was a day to breathe, and the tournament started. Now it's like this kind of a lull, and then we got to wait till Saturday.
I think it was because, I do think it's obviously COVID because this is the first time they've ever done this. I think maybe the extra day to get all the testing protocols in place, make sure all the teams are there. It is a bubble, and if somebody does test positive, like Georgia Tech had somebody test positive, you hope that you have enough time with the contact tracing and all the testing that you can do that it will only affect that person, and everybody else that was in contact, it won't affect them. I would assume that's why they did it.
So some of the refs tested positive apparently.
Well, one ref tested positive, but like 8 of them went out to dinner with them.
Yeah.
So they were all contact traced, and they were all sent home.
Yeah, Ham said on Monday night when he was on ESPN's marathon show, which I don't get it. Like the marathon started, then it stopped. I haven't seen anything on TV about the thing that was. They just go like nonstop for like 72 hours, just talking about the tournament, but they haven't. Maybe they're going to start it later. Dallin Cuff was like, I'm like, what time does it start? When I text him on Monday, he's like, it starts in 30 minutes. I haven't seen anything on since then. But on that show, Hamilton did say that the second round of tests the team had came back negative. And for them on Monday, it was just simply like, some guys were able to, if they wanted to get out of their room and go shoot, get some shots up, they could, but it wasn't mandated. But I think he said he hoped that in the next day or two they'd start being able to get to the arena and feel everything out. By the way, there's the Riverwalk. The Riverwalk is also a region in the women's basketball bracket. The Riverwalk, the Hemisphere, and the Mercado, as well as the Alamo region. So, what is it for Indianapolis?
Well, I'm going to say,
the Manning region. What else could they have for Indianapolis?
No, apparently you don't name them after people because it should be a Duncan and a Popovich, and a Devin Vassell. In Indianapolis, I don't. What's the RCA Dome? What's? I legitimately don't know anything famous, and maybe Hinkle Fieldhouse because that's where they filmed Hoosiers. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of famous stuff in Indianapolis. I just don't know it. But I was going to say, man, those regions there, you said the Alamo is one of the names of the regions,
Correct.
And then what else?
The Hemisphere, the Mercado, and then Riverwalk.
I mean, come on now, if we were seeding those regions, the Alamo is the overwhelming favorite, and all those other ones are 16 seeds.
Riverwalk.
I've heard of the Riverwalk.
Sneaky 12.
Yeah, the Riverwalk's cool, but does everybody in the country? I mean, everybody in the country knows the Alamo.
What would
unless
Atlanta's
you've been
be? What would be if Atlanta was hosting? What would the regions be in Atlanta?
Well, you got that's a good one.
Buckhead would be one probably, right?
No, I hope not.
Why not?
You have.
I thought Buckhead's cool, or it was cool in the '90s. Am I just out of my depth?
Man, that's I don't know that people go there all that much. You got the Coca-Cola, that would be one. Delta, that's another one.
All right.
You got those headquarters. You got I don't know, man, the house that Dion built. Although that's not there. It's not the Georgia Dome anymore.
The varsity?
The varsity's one. Yeah, there's the Cyclorama. There's a lot of cool stuff in Atlanta. Fernbank. There's a lot of cool stuff in Atlanta.
But I feel these are locations. So Tallahassee would be Cascades, Killarn. Maybe Golden Eagle would have their own.
Yeah, Killarn would have one.
Wakulla. Maybe give Wakulla some love or something in the springs. Nonetheless.
But yeah, that's cool that they get to do that. That they have that they're doing the same thing the men are doing. And San Antonio is a cool town. I was there when Florida State was there playing VCU. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really neat. It's a really neat downtown. The Alamo's not as big as you think, and it doesn't have a basement. But other than that, I thought it was a really cool. It was a really cool city.
All right. Do you want to talk about the UNC Greensboro game? Do we want to hammer down into it? I don't want to jinx it for it. I mean, they're going to win that game, right? They're at least going to win the first game, right? I mean, they can't lose.
Though, do we know? Do we
well,
really know?
They're not a good 3-point shooting team, apparently, so that helps.
No, but they do shoot a lot. And again, it's the 3-point lottery to an extent. Sometimes Florida State was not a good 3-point shooting team in 2011. Well, tell that to Notre Dame.
Right.
Because Florida State shot the lights out against Notre Dame in the second round, and all of a sudden Notre Dame, who was a 2 seed, their season's over. It's now Dulkes is going to start hitting. Oh, cool. So that can happen. What they do that I think is interesting is they play about the same type of rotation that Leonard plays. Like they don't have anybody averaging over 30 minutes a game, even their best player. And they have one guy that scores in double figures. Their
Isaiah
lead guard.
Miller. He's got 19 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists.
He's a good rebounding guard. He's only 6 foot. He's a pest too. He led that conference in steals.
He's the player.
But he's
of
the
the
only one
year
that.
and
He's the only one that
defensive
averages
player.
in double figures. Yeah. Everybody else averages under 10, but they do it by committee, like the Noles have done for so long. So that'll be interesting that they won't necessarily have the depth advantage just by sheer numbers. They should have the depth advantage with the quality coming off the bench, obviously. I don't think UNC Greensboro has a lottery pick coming off the bench. They might. But so Florida State should have an advantage there, but they do play a lot of people. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And yeah, man, if Florida State plays well, they're going to win. It should win easily. But that's an if, right? We don't know that they're going to play well. And if this, like that team for Vermont, man, are you kidding me with what they did? We looked it up the other day, like how many threes they hit. Yeah. Some teams can just get hot, and then you got yourself a real game, and then they start believing. That stuff happens, man. But yeah, if they play well, they should win.
I just don't feel nearly as good about this team as I did, obviously last year or even 2 years before. Like I like that. I like that team that we covered in Nashville. I like them a lot. I don't know who the calming presence of this team is. Although it's not going to be like a raucous crowd or anything, but just if things do go wrong, it's like, is Raekwon just going to try to get to the rim and score?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that's keeping me up because I don't know if I'm going to trust neutral site MJ. Really, I've been very quiet about MJ Walker because I've been very wrong about MJ Walker. I never thought MJ was ever going to take that next step that we'd been waiting for. It seems like the last 2 years, really. But he did seem to take it this season, especially when they played at home. But we didn't see a lot of it on the road. So that's kind of what concerns me. I just don't know who this team – I think Raekwon's trying to fill that role, trying to be that guy. I don't know how natural that comes to him. I don't know how much they'll be able to create for him, how much he can create on his own. That's what's going to keep me up at night. But then it's like, hey, man, Balsha might get crazy. Maybe Polite starts knocking down some threes. Maybe Nathaniel Jack gets involved. Scotty Barnes does some stuff that's like, hey, I want to be an NBA lottery pick. Let me show it out. All right.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was our pit master from Perry, Georgia,
Chris,
who brought it up, though, about UNC Greensboro probably doesn't feel great about their chances either.
Oh, no.
They're probably not all fired up about having to play Florida State. So you do have to think about it in that context, too, that they have a real challenge. They can certainly win, but they're going to have to play really well to pull this one off because Florida State's tough, man. I mean, I know people are disappointed, and that was a horrible loss. Not that they lost to Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech's a good team, but how they lost with all the turnovers was just ridiculous. But, man, Florida State's a bear, man. When Florida State's – UNC Greensboro is never going to have faced a defense quite like this, where everybody switches 1 through 5, and they really attack you and they take you out of what you're trying to do offensively. And then, on offense, they can bring guys at you in waves. MJ Walker, he's the key. It's weird. He's kind of the wild card, right?
Yep.
Like you expect your senior guard, your senior leader, your captain type player to be the constant, the one that okay, we can count on him. He's the dependable one.
Yep.
But especially away from home, especially now that he hasn't been able to practice much in weeks, and he's just not the same player right now because of the tendonitis. Hopefully this rest will help him. But if he struggles with the turnovers or with shooting, you don't know what you're going to get with him. But you could get really good MJ, like 22 points MJ.
Yeah.
And then UNC Greensboro's not winning that game.
Yeah.
And you could make a run to the Elite Eight or Final Four if if he finds his way again. If he plays well over the next week or two, man, they could potentially be a Final Four team.
Yeah, because they got to beat the 5-12 winner, which I don't think Georgetown's going to win. I do like Colorado. His name escapes me right now, but they got the one guard that's really, really super.
Yeah.
But then you line up with a 1 seed that's probably not going to have one of their best players, and then you win those games like you're in the Elite Eight, and then you might get, although it could be like Texas, it could be UConn, it could be Alabama. I don't know if any of those teams really strike fear into Leonard Hamilton and CY and Stan when it comes to them scouting out a team. I think Alabama's kind of a sexy pick, but I mean, I wouldn't be deathly afraid of those teams. So it's crazy how it can all work.
That's where Florida State is, though, right now, right? Like, you don't go into any NCAA tournament fearing teams like, oh, they got no chance.
Right.
This is really tough. Like Florida State's to a point, and this team has proven when it plays well that it can play with anyone. So again, as I've said way too many times, they can also lose to anyone. But yeah, they're not going to walk onto any court and just be completely overmatched. Like this is going to take a Herculean effort to even keep this one close. No, Florida State's at a place right now where if they get hot for a couple weeks, they could win a national championship. That's the kind of talent they have now.
Yeah. The only note of interest maybe you folks would like from the basketball crowd, I actually did do some research. So their head coach at UNC Greensboro, buckle up, everybody, did research. Wes Miller actually played for UNC. I think he was on the national title team that beat Illinois, I want to say. Could be wrong on that. But he mentioned that, the last time they were in the tournament was the 18 season, I think, or the 18 tournament maybe, 2018. They got matched up with Gonzaga, and they only lost by 4 points. And he mentioned how difficult it was to get ready for that team because you didn't really see them. You never crossed paths with a lot of coaches that coach against Gonzaga. He didn't have a lot of familiarity with Mark Few. And then, nonetheless, Wes Miller's a UNC alum, and his brother, Walker Miller, is actually on the UNC team. So he did say that, he's talked to Coach Roy Williams. He's seen UNC play Florida State, multiple times this season. So he thinks that puts them ahead of the curve when it comes to scouting out their first round opponent. That said, they're going to lose, and I think Florida State will probably
I was going to say, they also only played Gonzaga to 4, so that not knowing them certainly didn't seem to hurt them. And, they have a week to prepare for Florida State, so they're going to know all the tendencies. They're going to know what Florida State is going to do. Florida State's not real complicated. On defense, they're going to switch everything, and on offense, they're going to pass the ball a lot. They're going to swing it back and forth and try to get good looks going downhill towards the paint and then kick it out for threes. That's not all that complicated. It's okay. Can your scout team prepare you for it? Because you don't know what Raekwon Gray is like until you're up against him. There's no way you can simulate Scotty Barnes. None. Unless you get an octopus out of the Greensboro aquarium and throw them at your kids. You're going to have no idea what it looks like to have somebody like that long and that quick and athletic guarding you on the perimeter. That's not saying they can't. They'll adjust, and they might play really well and shoot the lights out and have no problem. But being able to talk to Roy Williams or Krzyzewski or whoever else, I don't know that does you a whole lot of good unless Roy's going to loan you his centers.
Corey, I'm just trying to talk about basketball.
I know. Hey, man, I got you.
I'm just trying to give the people what they want. We'll talk more about it on Renegade Express on tomorrow's edition.
Hey, by the way, did you see? I don't know if you saw my tweet earlier on Monday, but so
I
Florida
talked about all these teams. All these teams are really good at Florida State, huh?
They have because beach volleyball is now number 1 in the country. So now they have the number 1 soccer team in the country, women's soccer, of course, because they don't have a men's team. The number 1 men's golf team in the country, the number 1 beach volleyball team in the country, and at least one publication has the women's golf team as number 1 in the country. So if you go by that, they have 4 number 1 out of the 20 programs on campus. 4 of them are number 1 in the country. And then softball is like 7, and women's tennis is 7. And there's 6 or 8 other teams that are ranked. A men's track finished 6th at the indoor nationals, and they'll probably be one of the favorites to win the outdoor nationals because they'll have their good hitters back. I'm looking at baseball. They'll have their good sprinters back. So man, you're looking at other than the really important one, Florida State's sporting teams are just pretty remarkable right now, man. Like to have 3 to 4 number 1 teams in the country on one campus is pretty crazy.
March is here. Madness has officially begun. Well, actually on Thursday, but you know how it goes. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Use their bracket contest and select winners from 63 tournament games for a chance at $10,000 in cash prizes. It's only $1 single to enter. Sign up at mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT to secure a deposit bonus up to $1,000. So they'll match you on your first deposit up to $1,000. Again, the promo code is WARCHANT, mybookie.ag to collect and claim your first deposit bonus. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. I'm going to give you guys a parlay on tomorrow, I think, or our next show. But just in case you were wondering, they've got odds on MyBookie about who's going to win each region. So Florida State's odds of winning the East region are plus 550. So if you were to, example, put, let's say, modestly, let's put $20 down. If you put $20 down on Florida State to win the East bracket, and let's say they do, which means they go to the Final Four, $20 will get you $110. Some of you are like, Aslan, come on, man, step it up. I'm of a higher vintage. Okay, that's fine. I personally am not, but if you are, how about Florida State to win it all? Plus 2,500. So that means you put $20 on the Noles, and if they win it all, you'd get $500. Let's just get crazy. I don't want to get too crazy. If you put $500 down on Florida State to win it all, and they did, you'd win $12,500. MyBookie.ag. Speaking of that one program, a little bit important, maybe a little bit important than the other. Sorry, everybody. Just, Corey's a little bit more important than I am. It's the way life works, There's totem poles. There's food chains. Figure out where you're at. It was tight end Tuesday, I guess. We got tight end Cameron McDonald. We got tight ends coach / deputy head coach Chris Thompson, and then Mike Norvell. Corey was on the beat, live transcribing. We were not able to watch practice live. Nobody was. It was not open to the media. I think maybe part of it was obvious because Florida's in town to catch some on the diamond. Young guys flashing. Offense, is it going to be is it wide receiver watch? Is it going to be like one day wide receivers we inundate Norvell with questions about, and then the next one is quarterback play? Because we're all concerned about the defense, but I just don't know when it comes to your head coach being more obviously of an offensive-minded bent, if we're really going to be able to, needle his brain all that much about defense. I think Ira did the good, fought the good fight, tried to get something out of defense. But is it all about wide receivers? I mean, that's what we're talking about, wide receivers, huh? I'm not criticizing. I'm just, curious.
It's pretty crazy, but I, just from watching the 2 days of practice that I watched, I would say that's the weakness of the team. I mean, I think the DBs have a chance. Like, the DBs flashed more to me. Like, the DBs dominated those wide receivers, in my opinion. For large swaths of both practice, they just straight dominated them. And, we think the defensive line has some players on it. The linebackers could be better. I just think the wide receivers are by far the biggest question mark. So, yeah, you're going to want to know, okay, Helton and Pokey, we know they're pretty good, or they could be pretty good. I guess we don't know that they're pretty good. We know kind of what they are. Yeah. Although Helton, as Norvell said on Tuesday when we talked to him, he's got the brace off now, and you can really tell. Like he looks like a different player. So you've got Helton and you've got Pokey, who are sort of known commodities. Pokey certainly. And then nobody else that's known at all. So you're going to be wanting those little tidbits of who is anybody making a case? Is anybody busting on the scene? Is anybody making a name for themselves and sticking out and standing out and going to be a potential big-time player out wide? Because that's what this team needs desperately. And it sounded like he talked about Malik McClain. Yeah, he brought up Portier again, but then he brought up Malik McClain too and said he had another big play in their team stuff on Tuesday. He doesn't look like a freshman. And so I thought that was probably the most encouraging part, is he's at least mentioning names now. So maybe Malik McClain's the guy.
And he also mentioned that Destin Hill will show up eventually. And then he said that another addition, and I think he said additions, but I thought he was being cutesy when he said additions, because he kind of caught himself, because I think he wanted to almost say like Andrew Parchman or the kid from Kansas or the grad transfer. So did you, when he kind of, I don't know if he slipped out of this, I don't think he slipped up and maybe tipped his hand to them possibly using that remaining scholarship on a wide receiver, but do you think that's maybe as these practices go by that overtakes the needed offensive line if a guy like Darius Washington, who they've complimented several times, he and Josh Storms, and I'm sure once we get Alex Atkins, we'll talk about Darius Washington. Like if you like where Darius Washington is, Devontae Love-Taylor's health, continues to improve, and Robert Scott continues to kind of build off his freshman season. I mean, it's still only 3 tackles, better than 2, not as good as 4. But do you start then maybe thinking, let's also keep our eyes and ears open for wide receivers if no one really emerges here in the next 3 weeks?
I mean, that's certainly a possibility, right? I think he was talking, to get back to the original point, I do think he was just talking about Parchment. And he can't say him yet because he can't say his name because he's not on campus yet. But we all know that he's coming. But yeah, as far as as looking at another receiver, yeah, dude, I don't know how many are going to be on the open market, like good ones. But if a good one, a dynamic one, becomes on the open market, absolutely you wouldn't say no. You would take a long, hard look at someone because, you don't know, man. You throw numbers at the problem, and right now it's a problem. Again, it's middle of March, so by this time, a year from now, we might be talking about how Florida State has the best receiving core in the country. Can you believe how good Tron was and Destin Hill, freshman of the year? Like, we don't know what's going to happen, but right now it looks like that's a really weak point on the team. So that'll be really interesting to see what they do. But I would think that they would. I would think if somebody comes out there that could help them, that's big time, you certainly wouldn't say no because there's a chance there might be a tackle out there somewhere. Like I'm telling you, man, I know offensive line is the most important position on an offense, especially if you're bad at it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you need to have a good offensive line or nothing else works, nothing else functions. Yeah. But man, I just think the wide receivers is a bigger question mark than the line right now, and is probably a weaker part of the offense than the offensive line. Not probably, it is.
I think you feel good about what you have at tackle. You're like, all right, Darius Washington, Devontae Love-Taylor, Robert Scott. We need two of those guys to be good, and we've seen tape. Devontae Love-Taylor's more than good. I think Robert Scott can be good, and I think Darius Washington can also be good. So,
you know what's great though about having Jermaine Johnson on campus though for this spring, and you get a whole spring now.
Iron sharpening iron.
Well, absolutely, but you get to see. Okay, can these guys block big-time players?
Yeah. That's
Last year, you didn't get to see that, not only because of COVID, but even if you had COVID or didn't have COVID, you wouldn't have known. Like, you wouldn't have known, like, okay, he stoned Josh Kando. Josh Kando didn't get any pressures today. Well, guess what, man? It didn't matter who was in front of Josh Kando. God love him. I hope he has a great NFL career. He wasn't getting any pressures. So, but now, if you can keep Jermaine Johnson away from the quarterback, or maybe even more importantly, if you have no prayer, then you're like, okay, well, maybe that's not the answer. Yeah. So he's a very good gauge, a great litmus test to see how desperately you need another offensive tackle, in my opinion.
Then who's the litmus test to see whether you desperately need another wide receiver? It's just them dropping
I feel like
passes
I just think again, it was early, but those two practices, that's all I needed to see. Yeah. It's like, okay, they're just not getting any separation, not enough anyway, and not consistently. But they're young, they're young. So there is a chance they can make dramatic improvements. That does happen a lot. But so far, there's some flashes here and there, but so far not anything extra special out of that core.
Oh, should have mentioned. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Were you finishing up your thought there? I didn't want to jump in front of you there. I'm sorry.
I'll let you know when I'm done talking. No, yeah, I was done.
They did announce some more details on the spring football game. So it still is obviously April 10th. It's going to be 5 p.m. and limited attendance. As I'm trying to get this tweet to pull up, but my internet just doesn't want to cooperate. But there is going to be social distancing, general admission seating. You will need to be distant, and you do need to wear a mask if you are not drinking or eating at the time. And it's going to be 2 quarters. I guess you can't call them 2 quarters because that would be 2 halves. So they said 2 periods, 12 minutes each.
So I read that right. It's going to be a 24-minute spring game?
Yeah. 2 12-minute periods. Maybe they'll do something in between them or something, but yeah. They're calling it the spring football scrimmage. So they're not even calling it the spring football game. I don't even think they're branding this the Garnet and Gold game. I mean, I don't see anything saying Garnet and Gold.
I wonder if that's a Norvell thing or a COVID thing. Like, is this how he'd always want to do a spring game? Because this isn't going to bring – I mean, I know spring game – in the ones I've covered in the past, the first half is a real half, and then the second half it becomes like a running clock and other stuff kind of – it's not nearly as involved. But 24 minutes of football, I just don't know how many – and maybe they don't want that many people. Maybe it's going to be more of a local thing. Like if you're local, you live in the area, the Big Bend, you want to come out, make a quick day of it. But a lot of people like to travel for that game. It means something to them, and I don't know that 24 minutes is going to bring a lot of people from out of the area to come watch.
And there will not be a baseball game going on across the way.
Is Salt and Pepper, are they this year or next year? When are they coming back?
I think In Vogue is this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, nice. That's impressive. That's a good get.
No, I don't know. I don't know if there's any Doak After Dark going on either. So
I would guess not until we're completely on the other side of this thing.
yeah, but you can find more information at Seminoles.com/springgame21. Again, April 10th, 5 p.m. Gates open at 4. Bring a mask and bring your cheering voice. Get ready. Get warmed up for the opener against Notre Dame. It's a dress rehearsal for all of us.
How much? So what's did it say what the capacity was?
It just says all seating in the stands will be general admission. Maybe I should actually hit that link. But that is a good question. I don't see anything about like limited seating. But if they're saying that you have to maintain social distancing, I would assume, unless the CDC does go down to 3 feet, which they're talking about maybe doing. If you still have to stay 6 feet away from each other, I would assume that it's still going to be the capacity they were playing with and having to use in the fall. So
that's what I would think. But I mean, I again, it doesn't sound like they want this to be a big spectator event. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong in that regard, but you're not going to have 50,000 people. You're not going to be trying like Jimbo wanted to fill up Doak. You're not going to have 30 or 40,000 people to come watch a 24-minute scrimmage.
I don't know how much the tickets cost. $10, not bad. $10, 24 minutes. I mean, come on, it's not too bad.
Again, I'm not saying people shouldn't go. I'll be there. It'll be fun. It's just I wonder when it's that if somebody in Atlanta or somebody in Perry, Georgia, or somebody in Miami or Naples, if they're going to want to come up for a 24-minute scrimmage, as opposed to what you feel is more of an actual game.
Maybe that's why they're not.
Either way, it should be fun.
Maybe that's why they're not letting us film practice. Because if we filmed practice, we'd have all that content out there, and then nobody would want to be like, we've seen enough. We don't need to come up for the game. But maybe since they're limiting that video, people are like, shoot. I need to get my fix. I'll make the drive up. Who knows? Maybe they're playing chess on us. How about the other pass catchers? Again, we did speak to Cam McDonald. We spoke to Chris Thompson, again, tight ends coach, deputy head coach. What I like to hear was from, Cam McDonald, good grief. What are you doing? Just go ahead and run for office already. He might literally be the most polished collegiate athlete I've ever seen speak. It's incredible, man. It's like, hey, man, everything doesn't have to be, like Hemingway prose and just this flourish. But hey, man, do what you got to do. But I did like to hear Chris Thompson talk about, competitiveness and physicality or the two things they're really trying to drive home. And so far what he's seen are guys that come out and kind of embrace the challenge and realize what it takes to be physical, and they're kind of doing the things needed. Because it's one thing again when you're 3-6 or 5-7 or 6-7. It's another to not show kind of what your fans have been accustomed to. Obviously, you can't win the games, but at least maybe go out there and play with a certain edge. Don't get pushed around. Don't let one of your rivals hang half 100 on you. Things like that. But it starts now, man. I don't know how much of it's nature versus nurture when it comes to playing football. At least at this point in your career, I don't know if you can make soft guys into tough dudes, but they're certainly trying to instill a semblance of toughness. Which again, every defensive coordinator shows up wants to be more aggressive, but I don't know how many times I've heard physicality kind of really being stressed and harped and hit upon, maybe with the previous staff. So. Again, their words. I haven't seen the practice. You have, Corey. Did you notice anything in those two practices, or did you think that was just Chris Thompson just answering a question in the middle of March?
No, it seemed pretty. It seemed like they were a little more physical and a little bigger. I'll take their words on the weights. It's hard for us to know the difference between. Cam McDonald does look a little bit bigger, but yeah, he's put on apparently 11 or 12 pounds of muscle. He went from low 230s to low 240s. So, yeah, I think that you can see it, but the problem is, we only saw, what did we see, one practice in pads last year in the spring. So it's hard to judge that against this because, again, it's just two practices we've seen. I do know that it matters to Norvell. It's a big part of his program is to be physical. We do know that. So, that is something that I think you can hold on to and know that that's a priority with them. Like, they are going to be physical. They're going to die trying. Like, that's the one thing they want, other than special teams. They want to be physical. They want to be able to run the ball, and they want to be physical on both sides of the ball. That's one of the creeds of the program. So yeah, I the way they talk, it's hard to know just in one practice and pad so far that we've gotten to see what the difference is. But they did seem to be, like I said, the defense kind of dominated and flew around a good bit. So there was some physicality on that side of the ball for sure. And they also talked a good bit about Jackson West, the freshman tight end from Alabama.
Let's go, Jackson.
And that's not lip service either, man. Like that guy, Norvell brought him up again. Almost didn't even want to, but begrudgingly, because he doesn't want to keep talking up a freshman when there's 9 other tight ends to talk about. But he talked about his physicality and just how, and Chris Thompson talked about it too. Like, we saw on film, even in high school, like especially in high school, he doesn't back down. Like, he goes and tries to seek out contact, and he is as physical as it comes. And he said he hasn't backed down at all since he's been at Florida State. And I noticed that too, man. He is a physical dude. He goes and gets guys. He goes to try to block. He seeks out contact. He seeks out blocks. And he's actually he's pretty athletic for that size. Like, he's not just a road grader tight end. No, like, he can move a little bit too. I think there's a chance that guy is something, man. Like, the way they talk about him 5 days in, again, only 3 days in practices, but they obviously, physicality is not going to be a problem. They're not going to have to work him into having the right mindset. He was born with it, or certainly he showed up with it in Tallahassee. So they don't have to worry about that. And I think he's got the physical tools, man, not just the strength, but he's a big dude that can move. So he's a pretty intriguing dude. And yeah, Cam McDonald's too smart. Like, he's so smart that he knows not to answer. He didn't give us any real answers, and he's smart enough not to give us any real answers and make them sound like answers. Like like you said, like a politician. Like, you ask him a question, he'll give like one sentence answer to that question, and then wrap it up with like a political type.
I think the competitive spirit in us is burning as bright as it ever has before. Like, yeah. Whoa, dude! Like, yeah. What's going on, Tony Robbins?
All right, yeah. So, yeah, and he talked about the competitive spirit a lot. So, yeah, he's certainly a very bright guy and bigger, and he has a chance, man. He has a chance to play in the league, probably, right, with that skill set and that size.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he's got to do something. He's got to make some plays. But hey, man, I saw a tweet today that said Janarius Robinson might be like a 3rd or 4th round pick.
Let's go, J-Rob. Come on, man. He was like the 2nd highest graded guy. I mean, that'd be crazy because Asante was the number 1 graded defensive player. I think J-Rob was 2. So, hey, maybe this PFF folks, maybe they know what they were talking about. Maybe they're grading out stuff pretty well.
Yeah, maybe so.
What do we remember? And I know, like, when Ira listens to the podcast every now and then, this is the kind of stuff that makes him cringe. She's like, how do you cover the team and not know this stuff? I don't remember what Jordan Wilson was struggling with last year, but he's still not out there. So I guess if you're one of the folks that, was really excited about what Jordan Wilson was going to add, he's still not out there yet. But I don't think that's anything to be concerned
did he tear up? I thought he blew out his knee.
Sounds right.
All right, well, that's good. You might want to go back and edit that. We probably should know that.
Knee, you're right. It sounded right. You're right.
Yeah. So he's again, I think that's somebody they expect something out of. They really wanted him to play last year because of what he would have added to the running game. But yeah, man, they're not loaded at tight end with like incredible talent necessarily, but they're loaded with numbers. I mean, they're everywhere. They got like 8 guys. Last year it was like Cam McDonald and some walk-ons. And now this year it's
they still are walk-on. I mean, they're on scholarship now, but Wyatt Rector's still a converted quarterback. Preston Daniel still is a guy that I think walked on at Memphis.
But he did walk. He walked on here, but he's also a guy that's played. Both of them have like played in games now, so they're not like inexperienced walk-on guys. They're like not veterans necessarily, but they have experience. Marcuston Douglas is scholarship guy. Marquiston, sorry.
You should know that.
Jackson West.
You want me to edit that out?
No. Our guy, number 47, big tall dude.
Carter Boatwright.
I wanted to say Carter Fitzpatrick. I knew that one right.
James Blackman gave him like the kiss of death. I think James Blackman's first media availability going into the game week or maybe the fall camp was, Carter Boatwright looks real good out there, man. And everyone was like, ooh, true freshman. And then Yeah, he's probably like 5th on the depth chart right now. And it was August when Wilson blew, or I don't want to say blew his knee out, but sustained an injury to his knee. So, yeah, man, I do wonder where he is timeline wise. Because again, you and I are like, hey man, come on, like why aren't you happy about Jordan Wilson? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm not a big blocking tight end guy unless you're like Arkansas. They love that stuff.
I feel you.
But yeah. But yeah, they do have options. I mean, they got guys that have athleticism. I mean, Wyatt Rector to go from quarterback to tight end. God, there's another guy, Sticky. I think David Sticky, I think, was also a guy that played some tight end for them last year. So I think they want that position to be something dynamic. I mean, they want some, above average ability at that position because I think they want to make that a big part of their offense. I just don't know if they're there right now. Can they get there by August? Like, I really like what I'm hearing about Jackson West, man. That sounds really appealing to me. Joey, they had a guy in Memphis that they did pretty well with too. So, and I don't think he's not a guy that tested off the charts. I don't even know if he's on his squad right now in the NFL, but they've found ways to get production from that position. So they've got options. Just got to figure out one of them. And lastly,
they do have numbers, man. They do have numbers, and that's I do think they like some of those guys. It should just be better than it was last year, and just keep. That's what you want. You just keep taking steps, man. Every position needs to be better than it was last year. I think the quarterback's going to be better. It better be. The offensive line should be better. Maybe even the defensive line should be better. Like there's a lot of when you look at it, it looks like they have a chance to have some much needed improvement all over the roster.
Yeah. Joey Magnifico, that's who it was. Had 71.
Oh, that's right. I remember that guy. That's right. Yeah, that crazy name.
71
Magnifico.
catches in his career for 12 touchdowns.
Yeah, man. They like having a good tight end that can stretch the field, man.
Last thing I want to mention on the way out, I did see that the Saints, I guess, did re-up Jameis, so that's cool. Shout out. It sounds like maybe even though they gave a huge contract to Taysom Hill, most of the years are voidable, so this actually might be Jameis' job to lose. Did see Rodney Hudson was waived, as well as Vince Williams. But then when I saw on the bottom line, too, was, and most people are like, I don't care about this. Mike Hilton, I should know where he signed with, but Mike Hilton's a guy that was with the Steelers and played pretty well, and he got picked up by somebody, and he got a pretty good contract, like 4 years, I think $40+ million. He was a guy that played at Ole Miss when I was in Mississippi, and that was a guy that Hugh Freeze and his staff identified and got on. He was a 3-star, and he was a 3-star, ended up playing like a 5-star, and has now been in the league for 5 or 6 years. And Sidney Williams is a guy that Ira asked Norvell about on Tuesday, and shout out Ira. That's somebody he spotted looking really good, and Norvell said, well done, Ira. He has been flashing quite well. And they're recruiting well right now. Obviously, we talked about Travis Hunter, Nico Marchio, Quincy McAdoo, Aaron Hester. They're getting a good pipeline built in here. Man, if they can hit on a couple of these guys, and listen, again, stars aren't the end-all, be-all, but I'd rather go to battle with a bunch of 4 and 5s than a bunch of 3s. If, like the Jackson West guy, if they hit on him, if they can hit on a guy like Sidney Williams, I think maybe we can really start embracing like a quicker turnaround than maybe we had anticipated. Maybe even so much this year. Like I think if those kind of guys, if those freshmen, Sidney Williams is his second year, still a freshman though because of a COVID season. Man, if they can hit on a couple of these 3-stars, not everybody hits on their 4s and 5s, but man, if they can hit on a couple of those guys that are going to play above their head. I mean, Vince Williams was a highly touted guy and he stuck around the league for however long. Rodney Hudson was a 3-star guy. Again, to my point, Mike Hilton guy was a 3-star. And a lot of these teams that have good seasons with these first-year coaches that, end up being hot commodities, built themselves up eventually at some point, whether it's like Gus or Hugh Freeze. I mean, these guys had 3-stars when they started out. And then, kind of look at the heights they reached. I think Mike Norvell, obviously, Florida State, you're in a little bit better position than Ole Miss and Auburn. That's my rant. That's all I have to say, Corey. And if you want to throw cold water on it or wonder what the hell I'm talking about. Did you hear Nate Bargatze on the Ryan Russillo podcast? Your guy Nate was on it.
I did not. No.
It's good.
No.
Check it out. Check it out on your way to Indianapolis. Get your podcast ready.
Yeah, that's something to listen to. Hey, well said, buddy. 3 stars are important. And I noticed the Sidney Williams kid too. Not to take some of the luster away from Ira, but Yeah, man, he's physical. I don't know if he's any good or not, but he stood out in the Oklahoma drills, and he made some plays in the 7-on-7 and the 11-on-11 that kind of really stood out. And you're like, oh wow, okay, he can play. And then he also talked a little bit about Brendan Gant, because I asked about Brendan Gant, and he said, again, we don't really know how like maybe unhealthy Brendan Gant was last year, especially in the offseason. Because Norvell said that at the end of last season, or when he was playing last season, he was like in the 180s, like low 180s. And now he weighs 205. Like he couldn't eat much last year, whatever was going on with him.
And a hand injury too, man. I think he mentioned like his hand bothered him, I think, going into preseason camp last year, and that affected him. He couldn't work out, So.
There are some intriguing prospects in that defensive backfield. I think they got some guys that can play. So there's going to be a lot of competition back there, and you just hope again, I'm going to harp on it for 7 more months. You just hope the wide receivers can answer the challenge.
Will you be at any point? Will you drink Kool-Aid this offseason? Like,
No. No, it's just because it's the offseason. Like, I can be encouraged, but no. As far as like thinking, okay, the corner has been turned, this is going to be an 8 or 9 win team. Absolutely, definitely. No, I don't see how that could happen. But I'll drink it. I'll drink all of it. I'll drink the whole jug if they beat Notre Dame.
Oh, speaking of which, I guess we will wrap something in baseball here if they hold on. Chip, his name is Chip. He emailed us. Aslan, I have a question for you as well as Corey, Ira, Michael, and Gene when each appear on the show. But this is all you're going to get, Chip, is me asking Corey. 1, are you superstitious? 2, if so, are you concerned at all that Florida State plays a Catholic school on Sunday instead of Saturday? Thanks, Mitch. Sign the email.
Yeah, no concern. No concern. You? How about you?
Nah, we're good.
I know Brady has a friend who's a big Georgia Tech fan, and he's not excited that Sister Jean is going to the game.
Oh.
For Loyola Chicago. He's like, oh, no, that means they're definitely going to win. I'm like, well, I think she lost the last game she went to, because didn't they take her to the Final Four?
Yeah.
And she lost that one, so she,
It was funny. She was on a Zoom, and they asked her, have you filled out a bracket? She said yes. They're like, where do you have Loyola? And she's like, I have Loyola going to the Elite Eight. How do you think, how about that? I'm just trying to think if I came on this podcast and I was like, I think Florida State's going to flame out in the Sweet 16. Although she didn't say flame out in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, what a jerk. Like, didn't you go to Florida State? Like, don't you like this team? Like, why don't you like the team? What's your problem? And I'm like, how can you go out there and fight when your team chaplain's like, we're tapped out at the Elite Eight. Like,
I think Sister Jean's earned a little more benefit of the doubt than you, a little more goodwill.
Yeah. Touche. All right, let's talk baseball right after this. Didn't even wish the people a happy St. Patrick's Day, Corey. Terrible. Can't believe it. Sorry, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Is it still a thing to not wear green or to wear green?
Yeah, man.
Or you get pinched?
Yeah, you see Robbie Martin in the postgame had his Florida State St. Patrick's Day hat on.
No, I mean people. I know people do it, but is it still a thing for kids? Like when I grew up, anyway, if you didn't wear green, somebody got to pinch you.
Yeah, like punch buggies. If you saw a VW Beetle, you just punch somebody.
Yeah, I feel like that should be frowned upon these days, right? You shouldn't be just touching people willy-nilly because they don't wear the color you want them to.
By the way, real quick production note. So I send these links to Corey for the show. Like, hey, here's the link. Click on it. We'll record the show. And then usually one of us is running late. And I'm doing the whole standing up thing still. Like, I'm always standing up. Always. And then I'm like, okay, Corey's not here. I'm just going to go plop down on the sofa finally. I'm like, hey, Corey, just let me know when you're ready. And always, within 30 seconds of me being like, hey, let me know when you're ready. You're like, oh, I'm ready now. Yeah. I got to get up.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Hey, man, I'm trying to get. I'm not going to say I'm trying to get it over with. I'm just saying, I'm ready. I'm itching. I'm ready to talk.
10-2, Florida State beats Florida. First time in Hauser in 6 seasons. Carson Montgomery looked the part. Robbie Martin, welcome back, or I guess really welcome to the 2021 season. Everyone did real good. Everyone gets a trophy for that one. Super stoked. What do you think about it, Court?
Yeah, that was a good win. Again, I don't want to – I'm not Debbie Downer at all. It is a big win. You only get to play them on Tuesdays, so you can't nitpick when you do. It's not quite the same as playing them over the weekend where you're having to face their dominant starting arms. But they have good relievers too, man. Look, man, they played them on the weekend. They played them midweek 4 years in a row and didn't beat them at all. So you can't dismiss any wins over Florida. And it was a good win. Mainly the two things. Montgomery, that's something there, right? Like that guy's legit. Like even Meat said after the game, like I even think he had his best stuff, and he probably didn't. He didn't locate all that well. He got into a lot of 3-2 counts or 2-ball counts, but he had 9 strikeouts in 4 2/3. Didn't get the win because he got into trouble there in the 5th with some walks and some hits. But he had a no-hitter through 4, and that's a elite hitting team that he just kind of carved up. Now, it was only through 4 innings, but he just kind of carved up. And then past that, man, this is the first time in I don't know how long that I believe Florida State can go arm for arm in the bullpen with Florida. Like Florida's always, forever, since I've been covering this rivalry, it seems like, but especially since O'Sullivan got there, it seems like, in those midweek games, starting in like the 3rd inning, they just bring out pro after pro after pro. That's all throwing 95. Well, Florida State, other than Haney, who's a different kind of pitcher, all their guys were throwing mid-90s. Hare, Purdue, and they have off-speed stuff. They struck out 16 Florida Gators. I know Florida State fans always get upset about the strikeouts.
Yeah.
Florida State, comparatively only struck out 9 times. Florida struck out 16 times, and that's an elite hitting team. This staff, when you throw Montgomery in with Messick and
Hubbard,
Hubbard, and then Connor Grady, and you've got some guys that really haven't even gotten to pitch a whole lot yet, like Crowell actually, who's now I guess a mainstay in the hitting lineup. They have a chance to be really special if they can pick up the ball. They made a couple boneheaded plays there at the end, but they also had a huge lead. And if they can do something offensively, and Robbie Martin coming around, that's why it was so odd. Like those first 10 games, right? Like Robbie Martin's a good hitter.
Yeah, it's
not like he had one. Like Elijah Cabell, we're still iffy on, right? Like he's not even in the lineup right now because he's struggling so bad. He had like a nice, 2-week stretch last year where you're like, okay, he's found it. But maybe that was the blip. That was the fluke. Robbie Martin, we know he can hit. Like he was just in a slump. He just wasn't doing things correctly, according to Meat. Just was taking weird swings that he's never taken before. But now he looks back. Like he had a nice weekend against Virginia Tech, and then he had a mammoth home run against Florida. Had 2 other hits, had 5 RBIs. Like this guy seems to be back. He's up above 300 again. Matt Nelson's a legit hitter. Logan Lacey certainly seems like he can play. So they're starting to find some things, I don't know what it's going to mean this weekend. They need Reese Albert back and healthy, but the pitching is there, and maybe the offense will come around. That's a nice sign to score. I don't know the last time they scored 10-something runs on Florida. That's a double figures on Florida. That's a really nice night for that offense. Coming on the heels of the 14-run game against Virginia Tech.
And they jumped on Florida. That was their starting pitcher that, got the ball rolling at least.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I see. Like Florida's number 4 pitcher is better than most teams' number 2. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to dismiss it. The kid, they battered and bruised that kid. I'm not trying to say that they didn't deserve the win. Florida State was throwing their number 4 pitcher too. Like so, everything was equal. Florida State just beat the bejesus out of them. So it's a good win. I just more than anything, it's more of a complaint about how the series is currently structured, where it's 3 midweek games, 2 weeks apart, as opposed to 1 weekend. But either way, that's neither here nor there. That's a big win for this team. Mike Martin Jr. Just apparently owns Kevin O'Sullivan, huh? I mean, Kevin O'Sullivan's going to be having nightmares about this guy. Like what? I can beat everybody else we play, but this guy's got my number. But yeah, he's 2-0 against them. They won after losing 11 in a row to close out 11's career. Ironically enough, against Florida, they have now won 2 in a row since Meat became the head coach.
Yeah, man, just good to feel good about this team again. Not that I really was panicking. I mean, I think you had the story about, cause for concern, no need to panic. But a lot of people were panicking, and I don't know why. I mean, this guy, he really knows what he's doing, everybody. I know his dad didn't win the big one, and he's his father's son, and why do they do nepotism and all that nonsense? But, dude, this guy knows baseball. I mean, all the buttons he's been pushing here in the last 2 weeks after the Pitt debacle are really working out for them too. So it's just kind of cool to see it all come together. Again, it's March. Who knows? But, these guys that you need to be leaders, or you need them to be producing at a high clip, or maybe turning the corner like Robbie Martin. And they got a lot of young guys like Ryan Romano at third, Vince Smith at second. He likes him a lot. I think he's going to be a player. Shout out Eastlake High School, by the way. It's not always about Gwinnett on the show.
Right.
My high school gets some love too. I'm really excited to see how this team comes along, man. And Tyler got plunked twice. I think he walked once. His OBP is like 59% or something bizarre, or 590.
I like how you say it. You should say it better.
Yeah.
I like
Thanks.
59%. That to me, they should all be like that in baseball. Like I'm looking at the batting averages right now. Like Tyler Martin now is batting 390. Well, wouldn't it be better if you just say he bats 39%? 39% he gets a hit. And 58% of the time he gets on base. That's what those numbers mean anyway. And yeah, man, he scored 3 runs. He didn't have a hit, but he scored 3 runs. That's what leadoff hitters do. He has good at bats, and he'll take a hit by pitch. He'll take a walk, and getting on base for the big bats is what a leadoff hitter is supposed to do. So that was overall, man. Yeah, just a good solid win. You can't make too much of it. We're still in the middle of March. It is over Florida, though, and that's what makes that a little extra special. It's not just a normal midweek game. You pummeled them, too. It wasn't close. And, again, I just think you're starting to see the staff come together a little bit. You really are. You're starting to see what we were talking about. And if the offense can find itself or keep playing like this, it has a chance to be a nice team. It certainly you certainly feel better about it than you did coming out of the Pitt series. But now when you think about it, they've won back-to-back series over 2 pretty good teams at Virginia and Virginia Tech.
Ranked teams, like top 20 teams.
Yeah, and then they just beat the number 5 team in the country badly. So there are going to be some ups and downs, man. They're going to Miami this weekend. That's never easy. You want to win 2 of those. You could probably get away with winning 1, but hey, maybe you'll sweep them. Who knows? Maybe you're about to go on a tear. But you need to play well, keep playing well, and start building off this. Because as Meat said, man, they need all the wins they can get. You need big RPI wins. You need wins for the conference. You just need wins. And it'll be interesting. I guess we'll get him later in the week. But like, what's he going to do with Messick on Friday night? Is he not going to hit him? Because he had 2 more hits.
Yeah.
Like he had 2 more hits. Crowell had 2 more hits. Both these guys, obviously Messick's the Friday night pitcher, so he's a big part of the rotation. Man, Meat is really high on Crowell. If he, I know he had some arm issues. If he can get that right, that guy just knows what he's doing at the plate, man. He has an idea up there. And Messick takes huge hacks. They seem to have added a little something to this lineup. And you talked about Meat making the adjustments, man. I know we always get on to managers, and trust me, I'm worse than anyone when it comes to watching the Braves on the choices that backfire. But you talk about going back to that Friday game against Virginia Tech, pinch hitting, and then it was Lacey, right, that hit the 3-run homer.
Yep.
With a pinch hitter, and then going into Sunday and saying I'm tired of this, and putting 2 guys in the lineup that hadn't hit all year really, and now they've gotten I don't know what they've gotten, like 10 hits combined in the last 2 games. They've been in the start of some route. They've been right in the middle of rallies. He's just so far he's hit some buttons here lately where he's not just standing pat and saying okay they'll work their way out of it. He's making it go. Like he's making decisions. He's not going to just roll out the same 9 and hope they start hitting. Elijah, if you're not going to make contact, man, you're not going to play. And he made that decision. Cabell has more talent than anybody on the team, probably. But if you're not going to hit the ball, we can't play you, is Meat's point there. And it's worked out, man. So maybe Cabell, this does something for him too. Where whatever has to happen and something clicks because he knows he's not going to just be able to go out there and work his way through it. And, maybe that sparks something in him.
Absolutely, and then hopefully Reese Albert again comes back from his injury, sustained that concussion, trying to catch a fly ball out there in Virginia Tech and Blacksburg last weekend. So that is a wrap for the program. Again, Noles win 10-2. That's super awesome. Maybe we'll even have some more basketball content for you folks later on this week, but we definitely have Renegade Express. That's dropping tomorrow, so do stay tuned for that. He is Corey. I am Aslan. This is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.